Hi, I wanted to make this video demonstrating the use of the sewing awl that I have recently mentioned on social media. So this is the awl, and it's made from the cannon bone of a white-tailed deer, which is these two bones fused together into a sort of a double-barreled bone. So it's a very tough piece of bone, and so it's shaped into a point. And then it has naturally occurring in the bone sort of a hole there, and then that comes out here, and then there's a little channel that runs the length of the bone, and that whole shape makes it useful for using as an awl because you can thread cordage through there and use the tip to poke the cordage through holes that you poke with the awl to sew a seam. So that's what I'm going to do. And then this is sinew. This is made from ligament that runs along the back of the spine, and it's spooled around this antler, tip of antler. So all of this came from the same animal, the same white-tailed deer. So then I have a couple of pieces of skin that I've cut out. This is buck skin that has been smoked and brain tanned, and then in the case of this one, it's been dyed using oak galls and iron filings. And then I have a little button that I'm gonna attach at the end made out of a slice of a walnut shell, just a piece of a walnut shell that's been sanded down to a flat button. So what I would do is take the awl and poke a hole, and then to get it started, I'm going to fold the sinew over this tip here and pull this taut so that it's in this little channel very neatly. And then I'm going to poke that through the hole that I've just made, the holes in the two pieces of leather. All right, and then once I've gotten that through, I'm going to actually play out a pretty long piece of it that is going to be part of the seam. And then I'm going to take the awl and poke another hole and poke another piece through it. And for the second one, it's going to be kind of looped over itself as I poke it through here. So right now I'm working with this sinew, which is a very large piece of cordage for sewing. I also sometimes use dental floss, which is a traditional material for sewing buckskins where I come from. It's kind of pretty tough compared to a lot of sewing threads. And this is a practice that kind of began at a time when, it was probably not as easy to get different types of threads and cordages and things. So I poke a loop through here, and then I take this working end here, and with a smaller cordage, I would probably use a needle for this part, but I don't really need to with this stuff. So I'll poke it through there and pull it tight. I could tie that in a knot, but in this case I'm not doing that. I'm just pulling it through, and that forms the basic unit of this seam. And then I'm going to just kind of repeat that process a bunch of times, all along the length of the seam that I'm working on. The sinew has to be moistened before it's worked with. So right now it's moist, damp, and very pliable. But when it dries, it will be very stiff. It will be very hard and stiff material. So it will not be very flexible. And so it's important to keep it damp, and if it's a long project, you might have to re-dampen it as you go. There's with a second unit of the seam in place. So there's the seam finished and tied off. And then I'm going to turn this whole thing inside out. I could leave it like that, but, and there's the back of the seam. I'm going to turn it inside out, so that seam is going to be hidden inside the piece. To just poke a couple holes and sew this nut on here. So I'm not even going to sew that on, I'm just going to play out a piece of the sinew and tie it on. This is pretty stiff stuff. So this is just the structure inside of a walnut. This was actually nibbled through by squirrels, and then I just kind of rubbed it on the sidewalk, on the pavement, until it got thin and worn down the way I wanted it to be. So I'm going to use that as a butt. Usually when the sinew shrinks, it'll make the seam actually tighter. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it makes it come up looser, but most of the time it makes it a little tighter. So there we go. Sewn with the Neolithic sewing machine.